Okay, we are recording. Cool. So, welcome to the first live hack that I'm kind of doing here. This is going to be an interesting experiment. I'm excited. Basically, like I'm wanting to do on Saturdays, I'm wanting to do workshops one Saturday, and I'm wanting to do live hacks on the next Saturday. So it'll be like workshop, hack, workshop, hack. And for me, the workshop it's structured. I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to work out. And it takes a little more preparation. And this live hack is going to be more of an experiment. It's going to be a prototype. I might eventually turn this project or this idea into like a workshop or something in the future. But yeah, I don't even know if it's going to be successful. I don't know if it's going to work out fully. So that's what's kind of fun and exciting about it. And we actually I'm here at Pleb Lab right now. We just finished up. They did a Noster workshop here just now, so there's going to be a little bit of a noise as people are leaving. But first of all, for those live in the Discord, can you see my screen right now on the Voltage website? Yep, okay. It's looking good, and it looks good on my recording. Just want to double check that. Cool. So the stack that we're going to be using today, like I'm obsessed with this idea of trying to find what I'm calling the pleb dev stack, which is basically like the easiest stack, the lowest friction sets of technology you can use to build a full stack Lightning app. It takes a really long time just as a developer to get to the point, for one, where you can even build apps. But then to be able to interact with Bitcoin or Lightning beyond that, it's a lot longer of a journey. And I've been on that journey for a while. But I think with some of the tools we have today, it's becoming easier and easier. And I think that this setup is going to be a really good way to kind of get that first full stack Lightning app on your portfolio or whatever you're trying to do. So we're going to be using today Next.js for our front end for our app, and Next.js it's basically React. It's one of the newest and most popular React frameworks, and it kind of abstracts away some of this difficult to do stuff in React, such as routing. That's one of the main things is routing, and then like building APIs in Next.js. Like it's really easy to kind of build a API into your front end and kind of have that all in one place. So Next.js, we're gonna have Mongo on the back end, MongoDB. I think it's probably the easiest database to kind of get started with. And then we're gonna be using Voltage for our Voltage Lightning node and LNbits instance plugin on top of that. So Voltage has like an easy way to attach or spawn really a new LNbits instance on your Voltage node. And so so some of these concepts we're going to be interacting with today, like they weren't covered in the pleb dev course. They will be covered. Like this is going to be stuff I'm going to be covering in course 2, but it's good to just like get our hands dirty first and see what we can do with a really simple idea. So my kind of simple app idea today, just making it as minimal as possible, is I just want to make pleb post. And very simply, there's going to be users. You can create a user, and then you can make a post, and you will have a wallet as a user, and you as a user can tip another user through their post, basically. So I guess similar to like how Stacker News works or something like that. And so if I can get to that end where I have one user tipping another user before the end of the session, then I'll consider it a success. Maybe we won't get there, but at the very least, we'll learn how to set up a Voltage node and kind of have our own LNbits instance from there, and maybe learn a little bit about Next.js and Mongo. So yeah, let's get right into it. So I'm here in the Voltage homepage, and I'm just kind of gonna get into this raw. Like I haven't done this exact stack before, so we're just gonna see what we can do. I guess one thing worth mentioning, I am gonna be using this project here as a reference. It's a very pleb dev thing. Is if you've done something before, like you use it as a reference, you refactor it. That's how I work a lot of times. So I have this app that I've been kind of working on as an experiment, and it uses Next.js and Mongo. So I'm going to be taking some code from this. I'm going to have it like on my side screen here and just going to be using that to kind of move a little bit quicker for that boilerplate stuff that I know will work, but I'm still going to try and walk through the code and explain what's happening. So yeah, let's just log in and let's make a new node right here. So I already have an account. So let's see if I can get into here. Let's see. Can always make a new account as well, but that should do it. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go over to the nodes side here, and I already have a node from a little while ago, it looks like, but I'm gonna create a new node. So this is what you would do if you're going from scratch. We're gonna choose L&D, and we're gonna choose, I have a few different plans here. You know, maybe as you take your pleb app and you like are scaling it to actual users, you'd wanna do one of these higher options. But I'm just gonna go with the cheapest one, the light node, and I'm gonna click create. And it wants me to give it a name and a password. So I'm gonna call this pleb post because this is what our project's gonna be called. And I'll just make up password here. And cool, and we're not restoring. Okay, yep, I will remember my password, I promise. All right, cool. So now it's gonna spawn a new lightning, just kind of a light node. The light one, it uses Neutrino on the back end for getting its blocks. It's just basically a service to get blocks instead of having an image actually built with, Bitcoin Core below it, and then the lightning node built on top of it. So it's just a light node here, but this should take a few minutes to set up. So while this is getting set up, we can go ahead and just create our next app here. Next.js has really good docs, and yeah, like I've spent probably like 3 months now working with Next.js, and it's not a huge jump from React, but it's definitely one of those things where you need to sit down and get used to some of the specific stuff that Next.js does, like mainly the routing and how some of the API calls work. But in general, I think it's a lot easier and can get you to a nice, well-built app a little bit quicker than just vanilla React itself. So yeah, we're just going to create next app. This is very similar to creating React app like we did in the pleb dev course. And so I'm gonna quit out this terminal because I don't know what's in there. And let's make our repo. So I'm just gonna go to my desktop here and I'll paste this command. So it should start generating. What is your project named? We're gonna call this pleb post. Would you like to use TypeScript? No. And then would you like to use ESLint with this project? So we're gonna say yes, because linter, if you don't know, it's just gonna format our code automatically and kind of keep it, well nested and all of that stuff. So linters are good. So this should just take a second. Cool, there we go. So I now have this repo that should be here, right here, pleb post. So open it in VS Code. Right. And I'm gonna I use GitHub Copilot. I'm a big fan of it. It's not something that you necessarily want to lean on, but it will help you write a lot of the boilerplate verbose stuff a lot faster. So you'll see me getting a lot of like auto-completes as we're going through this, but that's all right. So pretty simple layout here. Basically, we have what's a little bit different about Next.js is we have this pages directory here. And this pages actually handles the routing. So index.js is it's just our one page that exists right now. If you see this like _app, _document, these are special pages, special components that Next.js gives you to do specific things. So like in the app _app here, like we can make a layout, for example, and wrap our entire app with a layout. Maybe our layout has a header and it has a footer and that's it. And no matter what page you go to, then you'll have that layout. So that's just like an example of some of the stuff you can do here. But I have index.js, and if I were to make a new page, if I was going to make like posts.js, this would now be at localhost 3000/posts, where this would be localhost 3000, right? So we can kind of see that in action. So let's actually just start this app up, see what it looks like. So do npm I, looks like it's good, npm run, and then the startup command is a little bit different. You can always go and look in package.json, see what your scripts are here, but we have this dev script that we're going to run, and this is what's going to start our app. So run dev. There we go, localhost 3000. So let's take a look at it. Okay, this is what it gives us. So very nice. They're pointing you to the docs and all of that. So that's all well and good, but most of this we're not going to want. So I'm just going to empty this out right now. And let's just put an H1 and let's say hello world and just see if we can say hello. Cool. All right. So our app is working. What is this? Enter. I don't know what that is. We don't need that. Get rid of that. This. Okay. Our app is working. Let's go check on our node now. It should be spawned. Okay, cool. So looks like we're at the dashboard here. So let's put in our password. Unlock. Yeah, it looks like it's running. So that was pretty easy. We have an API endpoint. We have a node ID. Awesome. Okay, so two things we want to do. It's actually popping up and telling us exactly what we want to do next. We need inbound liquidity, right? So this is what's usually hard about setting up your own node and working with it is, in order for me, like if I'm adding a Lightning wallet inside of this app, I need to be able to fund that Lightning wallet to even see if things work inside of the app. And so to fund it, I need inbound liquidity. I need someone who's going to open a channel to me with enough sats that can pass through. And so that's kind of the minimal requirement. Luckily, Voltage has this new, I don't even know what they call this feature, this product, but they basically give you free inbound liquidity of like 500,000 sats, I believe. So we can request a channel here, and this will make it super easy, yes, to get some sats in our actual app. So I think this is going to take a while, so I just wanted to get this started right here. But this is going to, create a real Lightning channel. So we're actually going to get a transaction from Voltage going to our node here, and we're going to see it on the mempool, and hopefully a mempool isn't too full today. It's always like right when okay, that's not too bad. It's always like right when I'm opening a channel or doing something, like the mempool's full for the one time that month. But cool. So, oh, okay. Looks like maybe this is our link. Yes. So it created the transaction. This is just Wiz's mempool. Okay, so it just got it, and it's expected to go through in 9 minutes. We can kind of see that we have, there's our 500,000 sats right there. I can't hover. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be getting, but very cool. We'll wait for that to confirm. And while we're waiting for that, I want to add on LN bits to this node. And so I think maybe dashboards, Thunder Hub, LN bits. Okay, sweet. So let's just create dashboard. So yeah, where Voltage is here providing our actual node, LN bits will kind of be our wallet infrastructure. That is nice that we can use LN bits instead of having to build wallet management ourselves, like right on top of the node. That's what some of the best devs do for like nowadays for the Lightning projects that and love. But for a pleb dev, it's a pretty big lift. So it's nice to be able to just use LN bits and get our hands dirty with that. So yeah, it looks like this will take a second. Oh, okay. So here we are. So I'm guessing it wants my same node password. And after we are certain that this is working, I kind of want to look around at the API calls and get an idea of what we'll be doing on the API side. And then we want to just get in and kind of do the grossest stuff in the app first. And that's going to be setting up the database, setting up the API, and setting up like the user authentication and creation. So maybe we're going to have some bad code written today, but my goal is for it to at least be simple code that can be refactored. So we've got our LNbits instance here, and the idea in Plug Post is when you sign up as a user, you want to be given a wallet. You want to have your own wallet where you can send and receive from, and your own wallet balance. So each user will have their own wallet. So that's going to be a part of our user creation process. So I think the easiest way to do that in LNbits would be to actually use one of the extensions. Oh no, okay, there we go. So LNbits has all these different extensions. So you can get plugin, like LNbits is a plugin on Voltage right now, and we can get plugins on plugins. So that's pretty cool. And I think there's one that lets you like handle users with, generate users and wallets, user manager. So let's enable this. And this will give us its own API that's kind of like built on the LNbits API. So it shows us some info here, and we can look at the different API calls available. So a lot of what we're going to be doing is like, we're going to be creating a wallet for a user, and we're going to be wanting to show the user's balance, and we're going to be wanting to create invoices and pay invoices. So those are really the four things. So we have post user plus initial wallet here. It's telling us what the endpoint is. We need our headers, our XAPI key like always, and this is what we need to send, what we need to return, and it gives us an example request right here in curl. So it's nice to look at this because I can see that, okay, it's pointing to our like Voltage nodes unique URL. And then from there, we're able to go to the user manager API. And it's also showing us what our admin ID is right here, which I guess is important. I haven't seen that before. That's what's the one thing that's really confusing about LNbits, I think, is all of the like IDs that you get, but this looks pretty simple. We send in an admin ID, we send in a wallet name, a username, email is optional, and then password is optional. So that's what we'll be doing to create a new user. So that's not too bad. Okay, so we will be able to do that. And let me just go back home here and check how our channel's doing. Channel's pending. Okay. Oh, wow, what was that? Oh, that was mempool. I didn't know they had that sound effect. Okay, sweet. So, this is going to take a little while, but once our channel's open, we can kind of just use the UI here and send in some sats and make sure that one of our wallets can receive it, just to check ourselves. And I have another Voltage node on the backup in case this doesn't work for any reason, but it should work. All right, now we want to set up the database. So we're going to make a new Mongo database, and we're going to connect to it, and we're going to create two tables, one table for posts, one table for users. And that should be really all we need to get this rolling. So I guess we can go and sign up for Mongo real quick. Okay, I'm already logged in here, but you can go to cloud.mongodb.com and you can make a free account. And basically make a free database on top of that as well. When you log in, you'll land on this page, and I'm actually going to create a new database right now, so you can kind of see how that's going to go. So I'm going to create it here, and we're going to make this serverless, just because we are not, like, our server and our front end are kind of going to be built into one through Next.js. That's one of the things that's really nice about Next.js. So we don't need to have a separate server that's deployed that has our API on it, and then our front end is deployed somewhere else. Like, that's not necessary with Next.js. So we really just need to have our database here that's deployed in the cloud that we can read and write, to, and then our app and our API is going to be built into one. And that's the full stack right there. So going to go serverless, and I'll just do, yep, that's fine. And continuous backup. We'll do basic backup. And okay, and we're going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it pleb host. Let's see. Okay, should be good. Create instance. And there we go. It is spawning it. This is an old one that I had created before, but you kind of see what it looks like when it's live. So that is creating. And actually the first thing we're going to do in code here is we're going to need to make like a really simple method, basically just to connect to our Mongo database. And so to do this, we're going to first, Mongo is going to give us like a key or like a URL that we need to keep secret. So we're going to make a .env right here to let us have secret variables that we can use in the app, but they will remain secret, basically. They won't be built into the app. Like if you were in my last intermediate developer environment sessions, like we kind of talk about how with just a React app itself, there's no way to have secret variables. So like we had our lnbits API key in the plebdev course, and it was all front end. So that API key was kind of doxed. But Next.js actually allows you to have the front end and a little bit of server-side environment in here to where you can have your .env file, you can put these secret variables in here, and they'll remain secure, and they'll work on your deployment, and they'll work locally. And so that's really nice. So we're going to make one called Mongo, I think, MongoDB URI, and that will equal something at some point. And then we're going to go ahead and make a source folder here. Pages is going to have like all of our API calls and API endpoints, and then it's going to have all of the pages that we can go to. So, plebpost.com/posts or /whatever. But we're still going to have components, right? We're going to be putting components in those pages. And so I like to just keep things structured and have a source folder here. So like we'll make a components folder and set that aside. But I'm also going to make right now a lib folder. And this is where I'm going to make connect Mongo. And this is going to be really simple. And this is what we're going to need to call to make a connection so we can read and write. Pretty simple. So I'm going to grab some code from over here that I had done in my plebdev project recently that I talked about at the beginning. And so really simply, we need these libraries first. Okay, so let's stop our app. And I'm going to do npm I. And we're going to be adding MongoDB. We're going to be adding Mongoose, which you see here at the top. Mongoose is a extension library that goes onto MongoDB. You don't have to use it. It's just what I learned, and it makes it easy to write your database models. So yeah, it's just what I'm using. We're also going to add Axios because we're going to be using that for API calls. And I think that's it for right now. So let's just add that. And yeah, that is our connect function. So you can see here we're doing process.env.mongoURI. So we're pointing this variable. Is that what I actually named it? MongoURI. Okay. So we're going to point to that variable. And now if I go back, we have pleb post exists now. It has been spawned successfully. So I'm going to connect to it. Connect to your application. Yep. Okay, cool. And here's our secret value right here. And I can actually paste this in. Some of these secrets I might have to like hide from the stream when I put them in, but this one is fine for the moment because you see there's a username and password that you need to fill out here. And And you actually make that on here. So this was successful. We got that. But you can actually make, if you go to database access right here, you add a new database user. So I already have these database users and I'm just gonna use them. So I'm gonna pull this up and I'm gonna replace these off screen so I don't dox my pleb database. That honestly doesn't matter if it gets doxed, but yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. So that is now in there, so this should actually exist. And what next? So we have our database. We don't have anything defined for it. What's nice about Mongo is that we can just kind of build models right here in our code base, and then we can set up those models to be used in our API, and then we can kind of just start creating stuff. So hopefully we can create like a fake user in like a few minutes here. So I'm gonna make a models folder now. And this is gonna hold our database models. And we're just gonna have two. We're gonna have users.js, and we're gonna have posts.js. And so we need to import these methods from Mongoose right here. And yeah, so when I was first learning Mongo, I learned it pretty recently, and it was a little bit weird to get started. Like, it was one of those things I definitely had to watch like a tutorial. I couldn't just go from the docs, but once I got something simple set up, it was easy to kind of just replicate that and yeah, just keep using it for different things. So you can see here, my Copilot is already detecting what I want to do. So this is correct. We are gonna define a user schema, and we're gonna say new schema. So getting schema from Mongoose here. And so now we're gonna add properties onto our database model. So it's saying name, let's call this username actually, and we're gonna put this in an object where we can say type. So you always have to have your database stuff typed in Mongo. So we're gonna say type string and required true. Yeah, that's fine. So we're gonna have a username. We're actually not gonna have a password, weirdly enough, and that's going to get into how we do authentication. We're gonna use a library to let people authenticate through other services. So that other service is gonna be GitHub. And so, yeah, we're not gonna be storing the password. The user's just gonna be authenticating through GitHub, and then GitHub will pass us that information to then show that user is authenticated in our app. So we're just kind of a user name here, and really, like, here's actually a cool trick I learned from my other project over here that we can go ahead and do is have a profile photo. And this is like a service that like generates random like profile images with like different squares on them. It's what if you've seen like, yeah, what Stack Overflow uses. Oh, that guy has a real profile picture. But like, yeah, my picture, this is my picture on Stack Overflow, and you can see it's like this randomly generated shape thing. So this lets us do that. So whatever, it's kind of cool. I had the code on hand. So profile photo, and then, yeah, I think that is it. So that is our user schema. And we're gonna go ahead and edit some of the properties on this user schema. So this is gonna be like the shape of a user when we create a user. So we're telling Mongo what it should be storing. But Mongo gives you a bunch of extra BS properties that you don't really need to work with. So I have this code snippet right here, user schema. Yes, so this basically just gets rid of this underscore ID property and this underscore V property that normally gets created automatically by Mongo. It's just kind of an annoying thing, but this code gets rid of it. You can take it or leave it. But one thing we will need to do is define, our user object, and we need to tell, yes, it's completing it right here for me. We need to say that user is equal to either models.user or model passing in user with the user schema. And so this is basically just ensuring that, yeah, so like models, it says right here, it's an array containing all models associated with this Mongoose instance. So we just want to make sure no matter how many user objects we have or what's going on, that we can always just call our user's model from this object. So we're saying, okay, whether our user exists on models.user or whether we're initializing it through our model function, we just want it to live on user. And then we can export default user. Okay, so a little bit weird looking here. I definitely thought this code looked weird when I first worked with it, but this is like a template that you can just build off of very easily. So, okay, so we have users model. So now what we want to do is try and create a user just very manually using this model. So, so we need the API to do that. So I'm going to go in API. You see here they have like a hello right here. I'm just going to rename this and I'm going to call this users.js. So, and I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to, once again, kind of take a little bit of template code here for a handler. And so this is just a very basic handler function right here, where we're going to listen to the request, the API request coming through, and then figure out which function we want to call, depending on the request. So if you've never worked with APIs before, you get this rec and this res, these variables, and this is your request and your response. Basically, the request is what someone is sending to your API. It's the information they're sending over. The response is what you send back, very simply. And so there's different things that you can do on these objects. But very simply right here, we're doing just an if-else. It's called a switch statement, but it's just a different kind of condition. We're saying switch, okay, look at the request.method, and if the method is get, return this function. If the method is post, return this function. If it's nothing else, then just send this and tell the user method's not allowed. So that's very cool. So we're going to need to connect Mongo, so we're going to import that. And we're going to need our users, do we call it users, I think? User from our models. Okay. All right, and so now we're going to make a get users function. It's going to be really simple function. It needs to be async, so my Copilot is guessing once again here. And I'm going to put a try catch statement inside of here. To basically try catch is like a way of attempting to run a piece of code, and if anything goes wrong inside of it, then catch will catch it, and then we can grab the error and send it back to the app or whatever we want to do. So it's guessing what we want to do here. Await connect Mongo, that is correct. Const users equals await user.find, and then res.stats 200.json of users. That is basically correct. So, and then catch error. That looks fine. So let's close up this function. Cool. Let's look over this. So get users is getting called. It's getting past the requests and the response objects here. So we're first connecting to Mongo. So since this isn't a try block, if for some reason our Mongo instance goes down, like all of our API calls, we want to do this. We want them to fail. But if not, we connect Mongo, we move on. And then here we're calling this user that we exported right here. So this is our user model. So we're calling our user model directly. And we're doing this .find method. And this .find method, this is the most simple method that you can kind of use in Mongo. So this will just grab literally any object that it lives inside the user collection or the user table. You can pass in like objects, and I could say, username is, Austin. So I could do this. This would be a more specific query. I'd be saying, okay, find in the user's collection, find an object with the username Austin. So you can be really specific with it, but this is our get users function, so it's just gonna grab all the users. So there we go. And then, yeah, to send it back, we do res, meaning our response. We respond and we call the status method here. We send a status code of 200, a success code, and then we call .json to send these users we grabbed, send it back to the app in JSON. So yeah, this is what the other side of an API looks like, really at its most simple level. And then of course at the error, we send status of 500 and we are just sending the error message here. So that's our get user. So we're gonna have an add user function. Copilot is probably gonna be able to generate this just full on because this is a very standard template. Let's see what it generated. So we connect to Mongo, user.create, request.body, that is correct. We send a status of 201 with the user we created, or else we fail and we send an error. Beautiful. So now that is set up. So now we have this API/users that we should be able to access, and we should be able to send a user object. So let's try it. We need to start up our app. So what is that? npm run dev. Okay. You see here it's telling us it loaded the env, so that our environment variables should be available to use. And I'm going to open up Insomnia here. A lot of people use Postman. I like Insomnia. I think it's just cleaner. It's dark mode by default, and we can make a new HTTP request. We're going to go to localhost 3000, and we're going to put in a JSON body, and we just have a username. And I'm just going to put Austin. And actually, I want to go back to the users model just to show you this again. I put in this profile photo snippet, and this is actually not super intuitive. Like the username, like this is a required field that we need to pass in order to create a user. But this profile photo is a field that's actually generated on creation. It just takes this new ID that we created, this new random ID, and it uses it to randomize the image. So we don't actually need to provide profile photo, but normally your schema, that's where you'd go to check to see like, oh, okay, what do I need to create a user? So it's just username, and we want to post request. We're gonna have /API/ was it users? Let's just see if that works. Let's just shoot it off. Okay, error, cool. It's saying it can't find user from there, and this is inside our API. So user from source /model/user. Oh, it's users. Okay. Was that it? Was that our simple mistake? Let's try it again. Just shoot it off. Boom. There we go. We just created a user in our Mongo database. Okay, awesome. Let's see if they are there. So that's wrong. Here we are. So now we have club host up here. We can browse the collections. And you see here we have the users is created, and we see our user here. We can manually actually like update it or delete it from here if we want, but it exists. So yeah, that's very cool. So we can now create a user. What do we want to do next? Let's check on our voltage node. Let's pivot a little bit here. It says our channel's open. Whoa, many blocks ago. So, okay, so we should have an open channel. In that case, let's just go ahead and see if we're gonna be able to send into this wallet at all. So I'm just gonna go to the LNbits wallet here, and I'm gonna create an invoice. Let's fill it with 1,000 sats, and I'm gonna pay this from, I'm just gonna go to Stacker News and pay this. Too many sats in my Stacker News wallet. So fund, no, I'm trying to withdraw from my account. So I'm gonna paste in this invoice that we just made in LNbits. I'm just going to set a max fee of 100 because I just really want this to go through. So let's see. No route. Oh no. Try increasing max fee. What if I try 500 max fee? Sometimes you just have to try multiple times here, but where we got liquidity, so Voltage opened up a channel with us, right? So they did that from seemingly one of their hosted nodes, which should be pretty popular. So there should be a lot of routes to it. So we might just have to come back in a few minutes here. But I'll just try one more time. Damn. Channel's open. Let's look at the network connect. I guess we could open up Thunder Hub and analyze our channels a little bit more. But yeah. Let's just try that in a few minutes. And in the worst case scenario, I can take this other node I already have, which I know is working, and we can just kind of use that in our app. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue now on to make posts. I think that would make sense to do. So yes, let's start once again with the models. So we made users, our users model. So we're gonna do, in a very similar fashion, we're gonna do posts. And new schema. So our post is gonna have title, that makes sense, and probably a description, and we need to have an author as well. So description, string required, we're gonna have author. And author is gonna be a type of string, I think, because we're just gonna pass the username as the author. That way we can show it on the post. So cool. That is our post schema. And I'm gonna take this same snippet again, and we're just gonna refactor it because we also wanna get rid of those underscore ID and underscore V properties from here. So we'll just rename this post schema. There we go. And then we want to, make sure that post is attached to both models and model. How confusing, right? And then I'm gonna export. Okay, a little bit faster this time. So now we have that post schema, it's created. It should be listening for us to make a post. So let's make a new API. So this will be posts/JS. Oh, I made a folder, oops. Okay, so posts API, so we're gonna get our same handler. I'm just gonna copy all of this, switch around a little bit. This will be posts, is it posts, plural? It is, okay. And that path is correct. Okay, so we'll do get posts, and we'll do add post. Okay. And then we have connect to Mongo. Okay, so we can start to make the get post function. It just guesses it right away. This one's pretty simple. We're connecting to Mongo in our try block, posts.find. So we're grabbing every post, returning it, or else we're returning an error. Pretty damn simple. Okay. So add post. Add post is going to be a little bit interesting. We we should be getting everything we need from the request.body. Yeah, so normally if you're building, we're trying to move fast here, but if you're like building your app, that you're gonna take a long way, for each one of these API endpoints, like there's so many things you actually want to think about. Like, okay, well, a user who's logged in, they shouldn't be able to add a post, right? I need their username. I need to know who the author is. Also, you need to be authenticated in order to add a post. So yeah, there's a lot of these considerations for security, for what should and shouldn't be allowed. And, you have to figure out, like, am I going to handle this all from the API side? So is my API going to go through all these error conditions? Am I going to handle this on the front end? So those are all open questions. For us today, we're not going to handle it. We're just going to assume the happy path and get wrecked along the way, but we're going to build a full stack app. So let's save that. So that should work. So let's try and create a post now. So I'm going to call this, this was user. And I'm going to call this post. API / posts plural, I believe. Okay. We're going to try and post a new post. And so this time we have a title property. And then we have a description. And then author, and author is going to be a username. Who's my user? Austin. Okay. Very cool. Let's send that. Okay. It worked. Sweet. And let's go check our Mongo instance now. And let's just refresh this. And we should see it here. Cool. So now we have our post table. We're able to make posts. We have our users table. We're able to make users. Beautiful. Okay. So that is pretty nice. So now next, man, I'm gonna try and fund this one more time. I had done this before and it was one of those things, like I kind of just had to retry and it worked. So let's make a new invoice. Our channel should be working here. Yeah, it was definitely included in the block. Yeah, these are just the troubles working with Lightning sometimes. Damn it. Okay, so I guess I'm going to plan on using my backup node, which it does have inbound, and I've tested it, so that should work. But yeah, we're not quite connecting in Lightning or our node or a wallet or anything yet. We're actually not going to be really connecting the node itself into the app. We're just going to be talking to LN bits through the API. So let's go on and continue down this path we're going. Because next we have to do kind of the nastiest thing in this presentation, or live hack, which is the user authentication. But it'll be good. We're gonna learn something. So we basically we can create a user. That's nice. We have the API, it works. So seemingly I can make a forum on the front end and someone could just make a new user and it would go up. But we don't just need to make a new user. We need to have the user get a session or a cookie. We need to create a session that lets the user know that they're logged in, and stores it in their browser and lets the app know, lets us know that this user is authenticated and here's all of their relevant info. And so normally user authentication can be like kind of a pain in the ass, and it's definitely a rabbit hole. But I have done this before in my repo that like I showed you here. I use NextAuth, and I actually have the library pulled up right here. And so this is the way that I'm going to have GitHub do authentication for our app. And so NextAuth is pretty simple. We make this new authentication API route. So we're going to make this new file here. And we're going to install the library, and then we get different providers. They're showing the GitHub provider here that we're going to use. And we create these auth options in this object, and then we pass it into NextAuth. And then from there, we basically wrap our whole entire app with this session provider. And then once that's done, once we do those two steps, we should be able to get these methods, these functions that we can use to see if the user is signed in. So you can see if the session exists, the user is signed in is their email, and if not, we can call, it gives us a sign in, a sign out function. So once you get it set up, it's really easy to work with. But yeah, let's just get into this. So I'm actually going to take this exact code snippet right here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So we have API/auth/... .nextauth.js. So it's a pretty interesting construct, but let's do that. So auth folder, and then we're going to make a new file. ... what does it say? NextAuth. I already forgot. Nextauth.js. Okay, and I'm just going to paste this in. All right, and so we still need this library. So let's restart our app here. NextAuth. And then this is coming, you can see this is coming actually from the NextAuth library as well. So there's nothing else to install with that. Great. So where is this GitHub ID and GitHub secret coming from though? That's a little bit weird, and that's something that I had figured out before, and I can just show you really quickly. We basically have to make, you would need to log into your GitHub here, and you can make basically like an OAuth app session through GitHub that lets you be the hoster of this NextAuth authentication. It's really weird. Basically, this key, this GitHub ID and this GitHub secret, you can generate that on your GitHub, and that will give you the privilege of authenticating other people through their GitHub. Does that kind of make sense? It took me a little while to wrap my head around it, but you can create this token by going here into settings, and we can go down here to developer settings, OAuth apps, and you can see I already have different OAuth apps here, and I think this is the one I had set up. Yeah, and so you can see my client ID here, which is public, and then I've got a client secret. And for me, this already exists. So like I'm just simply going to go into my .env, and I'm going to go like copy and paste this in for my other project. So I'm once again going to move this off screen so I don't just completely dox myself. And drop it here in the .env, save. Okay. Cool. So now we should have these variables, and one thing to note is anytime you add a .env variable, you need to restart your app. We're off right now, so that's fine, but that's something that can kind of have you running into bugs. So now there's so this is our provider, but we now need to basically have a callback that lets us pass our session into our app. And so I have this kind of template here. I think that there's a better way to do this, but this is the way that I had learned. So it's what I'm gonna do because I'll go faster. So after this here, we can pass an additional callbacks object. And so at its most simple level, like we could comment out all of this and take this. Really, at its most simple level, like we could just take in the session, you know, tell the provider here that we're expecting the session and we want to return it. And then once we wrap our app with the provider, we'd be able to get it. So let's kind of do that for now. This other code I have is basically to solve the problem of, okay, we're authenticating through GitHub and we're getting this info back and we're passing that info back through the session back into our app, but then how do we get it into the database? And so this is code I have right here that's kind of just sitting in the middle, and it's going to, whenever we create the session for the user from their GitHub, it will take that session and it will post it to the users table. And if the user exists, then we'll just pass the session back. If the user doesn't exist, we'll create them through their GitHub information. So we'll kind of see this in action in a second, but first I need to go back to the docs here. And so we got this in place. Now we need to wrap the session provider here around our app. And it's telling us it's in this underscore app right here. So if we remember before, this is like one of the special pages that Next gives us that lets us do some cool stuff. So this just basically lets us access the very top level of our app and wrap our stuff around our app, or yeah, just do whatever we want. So I'm gonna add the session provider here. And this component, this is like what represents the rest of your app. And so there's nothing that's happening to it right now. It's just being passed back down. But I'm gonna need to wrap this like so. And then, yeah, it already knows what I wanna do. Wrap it in the session provider. And we should be getting page props.session. So we could actually destructure this if we want. Now, yeah, that should be good. Okay. What else? We wrapped that. So now we should be able to just give this a try, I believe. But we'd want to test to see if it's working. So let's grab this import right here. And we should be able to get the session to see if it exists. And this is how we'd sign in as well to actually test if this is working. So just going back to our neglected JSX right here, our home component. And grab this right here. Oh, that's an import. And then we can say const. So yes, use session, I just know this because I'm familiar with it. It passes us back a data object, but we can also get status here. And status is what I've used a lot of times. And it just tells us the status of if we're authenticated. So let's just pass in our status right here. Status. And then we want to have a login button. So I'm gonna put a button here, and then on click, I'm gonna do a callback, and we're gonna call something called, well, actually I think we can just sign in right here. Call sign in, not sing in. Let's just look at the example. How's it? Yeah. So they're doing the same thing. Cool. So call back into sign in. We'll call that login. And then, cool. That is correct. So login and logout button. Okay, we have our new environment variables. We have this new wrapper and this authentication in our app. So yeah, let's see if this works. Dev. And yeah, once we get this gross authentication stuff out of the way, things will be a lot easier to move forward, I believe. Okay. Oh, I'm authenticated, apparently. How did that happen? How did that happen? Maybe, okay. That is interesting. Okay, so since I'm reusing my GitHub OAuth app from like another app, I think that I still had this cookie in my browser. So it just like authenticated me. So that's really funny. Let's see if we do this logout button, it'll just like destroy the cookie. So we should be able to do that. This is showing us our status unauthenticated. So let's try and log in. So if I do this, it'll give me this ugly button. And okay, and there we go. All right, but where's our session? Obviously we have, you can always go to the application tab here and see your cookies. So you can see we have a next auth session token, and tokens they're always going to be encrypted. So, you know, you can't just like read into them raw. But we're supposedly passing in the session. So let's do a use effect. Use effect from React. Oops. Use effect, and I just want to show me the session, and yeah, run this use effect every time that the session changes. Cool. So we'll save that. Go to our console here, and boom, we're getting an object back. Beautiful. So this is the object we're getting back. We have an expiration, which is 02. What is that? Next month? Month-long expiration. And then we've got my email. This is my email from GitHub, right? So this is my GitHub email. This is my profile image from GitHub, and this is my name on GitHub. So that's pretty cool. So now we're authenticated. But this authenticated user I just made is not in here in users. Like if I refresh this, I have this Austin user that I made. And I'm actually just going to delete it. And I want to now, as I was describing before, I want to intercept this session process where we have the session here, we're getting it from the provider, and then we're passing it back to the app. I want to intercept that, and I'm going to uncomment out this code. We don't need that console log. And I need to close this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we have the session. And so this is going to be the only way to sign up for our app. You authenticate through GitHub. So once you do, we have your username on our session. And so we're going to actually post that to our database as the username. We also have a profile image as well, so I totally didn't need to do the where did I do that? Yeah, like this profile photo thing here, but whatever. It's not required, it just gets generated, so it kind of just sits there unless we use it. So no big deal for right now. But yes, so now we need to update this endpoint for this logic right here. Because what I'm trying to say with this logic right here is, you know, with this kind of authentication, we're logging in through GitHub. So there's no difference between sign up and login from the user standpoint. They're just going to be clicking this same button every time, log in, log out. So, so yes, we need to, it's yelling at me right here because I'm not imported Axios, but I'm trying to use it. So yes, we want to intercept that, and basically we want to look for the user, and if they exist, we just session.user equals user.data.exist. We put that whole user object from our database into the session so that we have it like right here, how I have the session. I've only got these three pieces of information from GitHub, but using this method, I'll actually be able to take any data from our database, also add it to the session. And then that's if the user exists, and if the user doesn't exist, we're just gonna make a user. And I'm making this differentiation between these status codes. So now we need to go to our endpoint and we need to edit it to basically be able to handle this. So yes, let's go here to our endpoint. So instead of just creating a user straight up, what I want to do, I'm going to copy this code over because I had done this exact thing previously. Yes, so first of all, one thing here is I'm getting rid of the space in my name, or in any name for that matter, because like you see here, like the name it gives us from GitHub has a space in it. So that's just like a little thing to fix that. We're going to create a new user object. And then we are going to see if a user exists by saying user.find1 with this name. And then if the user exists, we just want to return that user. Yes, and that will be captured inside user exists, just like this. So, and then otherwise, we want to create a new user with our new user object here. And we'll return that user. So that should work. I think that makes sense. Okay. And we're sending back, oh, we need to change the status code. So if the user exists, we send it 200. And if they're created, we send it 201. So is that what we have here? So 200, they exist. 201, we're creating them. Okay, that should work. Cool. And then we need to, we need to import Axios. Once you actually have authentication working, it's so cool, especially through NextAuth. I really think it's one of the easiest ways to deal with this. So app is reloaded. We are unauthenticated. Is that true? It is true. Okay, let us log in. Okay, we're authenticated. We see here our username is back this time, but the space, we got rid of the space. We also have our profile photo from that we're creating from our cool link. And this is the ID that comes from MongoDB. So now if I go and I check users again, if you remember, I deleted my first test user, we should have our new authenticated user. Boom. Okay, nice. So now, now let's test the user exists part. So I just created this user for the first time. Let me log out and let me log back in and make sure it doesn't create a duplicate user. Just make sure that our logic there is working for if the user does already exist. So we did it again. Oh no, what did we get back this time? It looks like we're missing the object inside of there. So maybe we did create a duplicate user. No, there's one user here. But we did get, no. Okay, I think that makes sense. But we didn't get our user back, so. Oh, we need to say, because we're saying user.data.exists. So we actually need to wrap this, or put this inside of an object. Exists, user exists. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. There's still one user there though, so that's good. Maybe that's just Mongo, just like won't let us create two users with the same username. So logged out, log back in. Okay, we got it back this time. We have the user object. So that seems successful. Should be no duplicate user. Amazing, cool. All right. that is it. That is some of the grossest part right there, authentication. So now as long as anyone has a GitHub account, they can authenticate through our app. We'll take their username from GitHub. We'll make a new user in our database for it. So beautiful, just happy. I honestly didn't think it would go that smooth with the authentication because it can be a real mess. But there's still more stuff to do. What are we showing right now? We're showing our user if our user is authenticated. Let's put that at the top and get rid of this hello world. And we have a sign in and a sign out button. But let's see, do we want to deal with the Lightning stuff first? I think we do, because now we're creating a user, but we're not creating a new wallet for that user. So when a user gets created, we need them to have a wallet instantly. So I think that is the next step that we want to go down here. So, gosh, like, do I try this one more time? Or just use my other one? I'm going to try this one more time. Actually, let's make a new invoice. I'm feeling lucky. 1,000 sats, copy, go back to Stacker News here. Give us a nice big fee. Let's see if that works. Oh, look at that. Sent 1,000 sats with 2 sats in routing fees. Okay, it worked. It worked this time. Amazing. But it's funny. I set my max fee to 200. It was only 2. So that is really cool. So where are our sats? There it is. Great. Okay, and here is my 2 failed invoices that I sent before. So yeah, so this is now our main LNbits wallet, and we've got some sats in there, so that's cool. But we're going to be using the user manager, actually, and adding users through this and user wallets. So we looked at this earlier. But now we need to actually use it. So first of all, please don't steal these sats before I finish this live hack, because I see my admin ID right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this like raw, or wait, not my admin ID. I'm thinking of my XAPI key. So this is what we need to make requests to all. And then the admin ID is for this specific app, I think. I don't know, but let's just start with the XAPI key. And so we're going to build a request to, yes, in this same process right here, when we add the user to our database. So that happens inside of this. We want to call a function that will also take this session info and will give the user a new wallet. So let's just make a function. Give new user wallet is what we'll call it. And async username. What are we going to pass to this? This is the body that we're sending. We need to send an admin ID. Username is required. Wallet name is required. Email is optional. Password is optional. Cool. So I think we only need username for this. And first, I'm just going to make a header equals this. That should be correct. And then I'm going to add the X API key. And you know what? Let's actually be good. I'm gonna put this in the .env. Save that. Pull this back on here. Okay, XAPI key is process.env.lnbits key. Cool. So this should be our header for our request. And let's make, a body, okay. So we're gonna need to have a name, and the name is gonna be equal to the username. We need to have, what else is on here? Admin ID, username, wallet name, okay. User underscore name. We're gonna call wallet name. We're just gonna call it, something like this. We're gonna do username dash wallet. And then we're gonna have an admin ID, which I'm assuming this is like the same admin ID for every user. I hope so. If else, I have no idea what I'm gonna do about this, but let's see if that's the case. And then we're gonna axios.post. Okay, so actually another variable we're gonna need here is our voltage instance. So like, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna make a new environment variable for this as well. Because this is gonna be basically like, if you haven't seen this syntax before with like the backticks, this is just like a way to put a variable inside of a string. It's called string interpolation. So I can do process.env. We're gonna call this voltage URL, I guess. And slash user manager slash whatever the endpoint is. We'll look at that, but let me add this to our .env as well. This would be voltage. Okay, oops. Just doxed everything. That's okay. So voltage URL slash user manager slash API v1 users. Is that right? Slash API? Yeah. Okay, cool. And our admin ID, do we need to add this as well? Crap. lnbits admin ID. I think, no, I already added that. We've got our URL. We've got our XAPI key as well, I believe. Let me make sure we do have all of these. No, I still need the lnbits admin ID. That's what I just copied. Equals this guy. Okay, so this should be right. This is for post user plus initial wallet. So it's a post request to this endpoint with this body, and we should get something like that back. Cool. So we get a response, and I think we're just going to return response.data. Let's console log it though as well. Log response.data so we can see it. We'll format that. So now we have give new user wallet function. So, okay, so if the user is getting created, we want to call this function. If the user is already created, we just need to make sure that their wallet, I don't even know, their wallet ID or whatever info we need from them gets added also to this exists object. So that's kind of a to-do. I'm just going to put, add wallet to session actually. And here we're going to add wallet to the user. So, yeah, I'm just going to pass user. So user's coming from here, user.data.username. Okay. But we're going to cast this into a variable because this is going to give us our wallet. So const wallet equals the invocation of this function. And then I need to make sure that user.data, because we're passing that back to the session here. So I'm just going to add a new property called user.data.wallet, and it's going to be equal to wallet. So now this should have our added wallet on here when we return the session. So cool. That's for when we create a new user. And so since I already kind of made my user and he doesn't have a wallet yet, we're gonna have to give this a try. And I'm also gonna console.log the response from elements, the whole response object, because if there's something wrong, something I'm missing, which is highly likely, that'll make it easier to debug. Okay, now let's try and do this again. Let's see if we create a wallet when we make our new user. So I'm going to delete this user object. So now we can, I also need to restart the app because, oh boy. Did I just do it? What? Oh my gosh. Okay, so the app refreshed. Interesting. Wallet is empty right here though. Okay, but I think the app just like refreshed and it took my session and made a new wallet. Is that possible? Let's go look at LNbits. User manager. Yes, we have a new wallet here. Okay, wow. Interesting. Did that even work how I wanted it to? Let's see what we got back here. So this big, ugly, terrible thing is the entire response I returned. That's why you normally do just response.data. But yeah. Sorry, I haven't stopped for any questions. Are there any questions so far?
My mic's not on, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, good. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Definitely like jump in with any questions. I'm forgetting that I'm like literally live right now. But yeah, we're definitely more than halfway through here now. So just created our wallet. Nice. So now we're creating a wallet when a new user signs up. So we have the wallet, but now I want to show the wallet balance at the top when you're authenticated. Or actually first we need to take advantage of this. So add wallet to session. We actually need to be saving this wallet data into our user object. That way we can grab it again. So I didn't even think about that. So that's interesting. So that means we would need to create our wallet and then post our user instead of posting our user and then create the wallet. So that will be interesting. So first, let's just go back to our users model here. We have username and profile photo. So what I'm getting back from the wallet is I have a wallet ID. I have an admin key. I think this is the same admin key for everyone else. Is this the same? What is this ID versus this one? This must be a user ID. Oh yeah, and then this is the wallet ID. And we have an admin, a wallet name, user, admin key. Ooh, okay, so each wallet has its own admin key and then in key, maybe that's invoice key. So that's interesting. So there's a few pieces of data now to store here. So let's just create a new wallet object. And this is gonna have multiple properties. So type is gonna be object. No, we're not doing a default function. How do I make nested? Or I could just do wallet ID, wallet admin ID, admin. This is the problem with Allen bits. There's like too many keys. So I need my admin key, my in key, and my wallet ID. So let's just do that. So let's do wallet ID is a string. That's correct. All of these are strings. We're gonna do wallet. What is the admin versus admin key? Gosh, maybe it'll say so on here. So if I go to this user manager, okay. So this is what it returns, ID, name. What about post wallet? It returns ID, admin, is a string, name, user, admin key, and key. Let's get some more API info here, because I just don't know what's going on. So this is for the user manager. If I look at posting wallet, this is what you send in. Request body, responses. What the heck? What if we post a user? So that's what we're posting. Schema? Yeah, it's not showing us the response here, so that's not very helpful. Responses. It's just showing us status code and a schema. Okay. So what happens with API docs sometimes? These are probably like generated automatically with code. So close though. Like we have our user wallet. Now we just need to be able to send funds between them. So let's just grab all of this information. So we have wallet ID. We're gonna have wallet admin. It'll be type string. We're gonna have, we don't need the wallet name. We're gonna have admin key and in key. In key. And yeah, these are all strings. Okay, so now this is all of our wallet information that we expect to get. We create our user, and some of these should let us do whatever we need to do to make an invoice and check their balance and all of that. So, okay, cool. Now I'm gonna go back to the app and let me like log out so it doesn't just like fire off again. And I'm gonna delete myself as a user. Did I already do that again? Did it create me? Did, okay. So now our new user object is gonna be a lot bigger. So we're logged out and okay. Back into the next auth. Man, this file is getting nasty. But we need to figure this out. So we actually need our wallet info before we create a user. So that needs to come before this. But since we have session gives us session.user, which should have our name on it. And our name is all that we need to give the new user a wallet. So let's take, let's see. But we don't want to create a new wallet if the user is just logging in. So that is a problem. But let's just move this over first. We'll figure it out. So this will straight up just create a new wallet, but we're gonna send it session dot user dot name, I think. I think name is what gets returned from this user object. Oh, why isn't that opening? Session.user username. But session, this is before we update the session, so it should still be name. So we pass in the name, and this will just create a new wallet every single time. So what we'd want to do here is get even more gross, and we would have a give new user wallet check if user wallet exists. Okay, so we would do very similar headers here. The body, let's go find what this is. So there should be a get endpoint here in LNbits. Get out of the docs. Okay, so get users, get wallets. Can we get wallet by ID? I think we should be able to. But we won't have the wallet ID. So what are we gonna have? We're gonna have the user name. So user/user ID. No, that won't work either. So check if user wallet exists with the user name. I can't do that. So that is something to figure out there. So let's just do something dumb. So we know our user is getting a wallet. Okay, let's leave it to do here for figure out if user has a wallet. So we're just gonna leave that hanging right now, and we're just gonna try and actually let our users use their wallets. So in that case, and we still need the wallet info. Let's try what we had before. So we'll create a new wallet only when it's a new user, and we're gonna pass it back in the session. And that way, through the session object, we should be able to get the user's balance, etc. So let's try that. So I'm gonna need to, once again, delete my user. I already am deleted, cool. So now I'm gonna make a new user. It's gonna give him a new wallet. And then let's just try and show the balance. So that'll be a first thing to do. So session, we're already console logging that. So the wallet should exist on the session, and then we should be able to get the user's specific wallet info from there in some kind of API call. So let's get that in front of our eyes first. Log in. So sign into GitHub, we create a new user. User object comes back, but we have no wallet here. Interesting. Did I create a new wallet? Create a new wallet. But const user.data.wallet equals wallet. Am I console logging this? Yeah, so here's my new wallet. maybe we do just need it on the user object for right now. So, okay. So we will do it at the top like this. Forget about this. We'll just pass our session like normal. We're going to get our wallet here, and then we need to copy our schema that we have. Wallet ID, wallet admin, admin key, in key. Okay. So wallet ID is equal to wallet.wallet ID. Admin ID, and then admin underscore key, and in underscore key. Okay. Let's see what it's actually called on here. So, oh, we get back this whole user object. So it actually needs to be wallet. Let's see. So I'm returning response.data. That's response.data, but I want to return response.data.wallets at index 0. That way I'm just returning this object. And then when I get down here, I can say this will be wallet.id. This will be wallet.admin. Wallet.admin key. Wow. No formatting. And then in key. Okay. So now we generate the wallet up front. We pass it into the new user that gets added to our database. And then let's actually just go ahead and prepare an index right here. I'm going to grab Axios. So we're just going to we're going to return our user. We need to be able to get user by ID though, so we'll have to make that real quick. It should be easy though. I'm going to do axios.get, and it's guessing users, but this will be users slash, and I'm going to grab them by username. So this will be, oops, need to make this string interpolation so I can put in a variable here, slash session dot user dot, what was it? What do we get back from our session? Username. Dot username. So, yep, and then we're going to take the response and we'll set it to we're going to take our response, and this is where we want to call, yeah, let's just make a use state for the user object. So const user set user is going to be equal to use state, and we'll just keep this as null at first. So then we'll set user to res.data, or else we'll catch an error. And yeah, we need session for this, so we'll run this after session changes. Cool, okay, and then make an endpoint for this now. So we're gonna go API. So now we actually have an ID because we have users. Users is just a file here, but we need users slash ID. So this is actually something cool we can do with next. I can make a users folder, open it up, and then I can make something called slug.js. And this will basically just look for a unique identifier at the end of the endpoint. And then I can move users in here, but I need to rename this now. Yeah, I'll update the imports. I need to rename it to index so that it still stays at the same path of, you know, API slash users. Cool, so nothing in here needs to change. It looks like it automatically updated the imports. So now here, going to do something very similar, but we're only going to create one endpoint. We're going to do get. We're just going to get user by ID. And then this is where we will get a little more advanced. So do our try block. Let's see if Copilot will finish this. That was a pretty good job. And else, catch error. Boom. Okay, so in the request object, so we have the request and response objects. The request gives us a lot of stuff to work with. One of the things we get is a slug. So this will be whatever we send at the end of our endpoint. This will give it back to us. I need to close this. And so it's looking for a user by username, and then it's responding with it. So pretty simple. So now that endpoint exists, and now we're going to use state is not defined. We're going to make our new user again. Use effect. Use state. And I'm running up against time here. I told myself I'd give a hard stop at 2 hours. So I really want to get a lightning payment through in the next 15 minutes. So let's see if we can do it. We're so close. So properties undefined session user. Say if not session return. There we go. Okay. Am I authenticated? Logout. Create another one. So I need to remember to log out. Okay. So now let's log in, which will create a new wallet. It'll set it to our user object. We should then be able to call that user object and get it here on the home page in a console log. Okay, undefined. We have our user here. User was created. No errors. But we're not getting this callback. Log. What does our new user look like though? Do we have our wallet info? That's what I really want to know. We don't. Okay. Getting the wallet. Maybe this is a problem right here. Response to data.wallets of 0. Can see in Ellen bits we're just continually creating wallets here, so that's beautiful. Let's log out, refresh. And luckily Mongo keeps us from making duplicate users here. Oh, come on, we're so close. All right, let's log in. Let's see what we get. We're getting our user object, but it doesn't have the wallet on it. I see that our console log is working. We're returning that wallet. We have the wallet here. So we should be posting this all on the body. Okay, let's get rid of this console log. Coming down here. Yeah, wallet.id, wallet.admin. admin key. It's not camel cased, in key. So these should all exist. And we saved, we updated our user model here. Wallet admin. So yeah, and we saved that. Wait. Wallet ID, wallet admin. I see. So I think it's because I'm trying to post this maybe, and it's not letting me. Wallet admin, admin key, in key. Okay. Once more. Okay, deleted. Our app is running here. It's not started up. Let me just restart it just to check myself. Shouldn't be authenticated. Looks like it did authenticate me though. Wallet promise pending. Oh, so I'm console logging wallet right here, and it's telling me promise pending. This is such classic JavaScript. So I need to be saying await. I need to be awaiting the response, right? Because this is an asynchronous function. Anytime we make something asynchronous, we're saying, I don't know when this is going to finish. So since I don't know when it's going to finish, I need to go tell my code, wait until this finishes before you move on down and start doing the rest of this shit. Okay, that must be the issue. Classic. Let's try this once more. Let me make sure my session is destroyed first before I delete this. Okay. Owning authenticated. Interesting. Okay. We're getting something now. Axios error, where is this coming from? Request failed with 500. Which, that must be this user.post. Let's go to the network tab. Interesting. Didn't even work that time, so that must be this axios.post. So localhost API / users. And do we need to update this endpoint still? Add user. Ah, of course, yes. So name equals rec.body.username. And then once user exists, new user object. So actually we can just take the rest, I think the rest of the request.body. So we're changing the name here, getting rid of the spaces. That's the only thing we need to change. And then we just want to pass the rest of the request.body down. Okay. So I'm authenticated. Let's go back to the console. Try this again. Okay, getting some responses here. Yes, okay, we have our wallet is now saved to our user. Beautiful. And we're getting our user object back. It's getting console logged. Let's see, right here from res, and we're setting user, right here. And so now, I think with the time we have left, I'm just going to grab the wallet balance, display it, and then we'll fund the wallet. Just make sure that we can do that. So that way we can prove that users with wallets can pass sats in between each other. So use effect, so this will be our other API call. So this will be, so if not user, return, and otherwise we're going to do axios.get. Yes, but this URL is wrong. So let's grab the correct one from LNbits really quick. Look at all these wallets. How many is there now? Beautiful. How do I know which wallet is mine? Damn. Admin key ID. Wallet ID. So CEA2. Oh no, it's user ID. CEA2. Link to wallet. Okay, so now that's the page for this wallet. So API info, get wallet details. So that's pretty simple. We would send really just, what does their example request look like? Slash API slash wallet. Does it give us a unique XAPI key? That's so confusing. Because we're just calling the wallet endpoint. So what tells us that it's this specific wallet if we don't put something at the end of it? Let me see if this is the same. I think it might be this XAPI key here. Let me see if this is the same I have in my .env. So I'm just going to scoot this over. Yeah, this is a different XAPI key. Oh my gosh. Does this exist at all in the wallet that we got back? Let's see, it should be in the console. Can I search? Yes, so that's the N key. Oh my gosh. That was not clear at all. Okay, so this is, the N key is what I use as the header to get this balance. Yeah, 8566. Oh, that is so weird. Okay, so that would mean now that I have my user object, I would call, so it would still just be this endpoint right here, except I would want to use my environment variable for it. So do the string interpolation and process.env.voltage underscore URL slash whatever this endpoint is. So this is what we're getting, but we need to say headers. So content type, but then the XAPI key will actually be on our user object. So it'll be user dot in key underscore key. Those are the headers. Okay, pass the headers in, and then we can go from here. And we'll have const user balance, set user balance. So we'll take our response, go ahead and console log it, wallet res, call it user wallet res. Then we'll set the user balance. What do we get back? String name balance. Yeah, so it should be data.balance, res.data.balance. And then we'll catch any error. And you will run this whenever we have the user. If there's no user, we bail out. And then at the top here, let's say balance. User balance. Let's see. So undefined 3000/undefined. So voltage URL, did I name it something else, my variable? No, that should be correct. It's telling me /undefined/API v1 wallet. Okay. I don't know what's happening with that, but this should be the same environment variable I have. So let's just hard code it. Okay. Refresh. Balance 0, okay. Can I send to this user? Create invoice. I want to give this user 100 sats. Got this wallet here. So this is all still both these wallets are on my node. So paste request. Oops. Need to copy it. Pay 100 sats. Boom. He has 100 sats. Oh, okay. And it's showing, it's showing millisats, so I guess I would need to say set it to that, divide by 1000. And there we go, 100 sats. Okay. And just with that, we are about at time. Good Lord. Okay. So we got pretty far here. Wow, I severely underestimated the LNbits wallet API here. I thought it would be a little bit easier to work with. I'm also like underestimating the user authentication. Like this got way too complicated. So that is something to work on in the future. But yeah, this is actually something I would want to build a template off of, like definitely. Because anytime you run into like a piece of friction like this, like it's a good time to just make a template or a boilerplate. So I definitely am going to go back over this and kind of reformat it, and then maybe we can resurrect this project again and do it a lot quicker. But nonetheless, we spawned a brand new app with Next.js. We got a backend database working and hosted up there. We can make posts, we can make users. We got our voltage node up. We got inbound liquidity from it. We funded our LNbits instance that we're running on it, and we're able to kind of match our user in our database with this instance and get them their balance. So that is a start, absolutely, but we're far away from like, my goal is like, I want to someday be able to make a Lightning app in like a workshop in like 30 minutes, like a Fullstack Lightning app. That's the final goal. And so there's still a lot of friction here, but nonetheless, that was that was pretty fun.